There are moments when life gifts you something you didn't even know you needed, something you never consciously asked for, and yet it arrives. You may say, I never prayed for this, I never visualized this, but understand this, your soul did. You see, blessings are not only born from loud affirmations or dramatic intentions. Some are the result of quiet alignment, unseen choices, gentle shifts in awareness. You held a posture of grace, a frequency of faith, even when you weren't aware of it. And so a door is opening, not because you knocked, but because the house was already yours. There are blessings stored in invisible realms, waiting for your readiness, not your request. You may feel you've been overlooked. You may believe you've done nothing special, but life is not keeping score by effort. It responds to states of being. If you've ever chosen peace when chaos was easier, if you've ever held compassion when you had every right to turn cold, if you've ever stood still in faith when your senses screamed otherwise, then you've already spoken the only language the universe understands: identity. This is not about striving, it's about becoming. The blessing that's coming didn't require a performance, it required a presence. And now that presence is full, complete, mature enough to receive what your old self couldn't carry. Don't look around for evidence, look within. Don't search for signs, be the sign. A shift has occurred inside you, quiet, sacred, and powerful. And as within, so without. The external must now echo the internal. Prepare your heart, not because you begged, but because life is generous by nature. It gives where there is space. You didn't ask for this blessing in words, but you lived it in spirit, and now it's coming. Let it in, let it unfold, and most of all, let it be easy. Before you ever spoke a word of desire, before you ever imagined yourself worthy of more, the blessing was already written into your script. Life, in its infinite wisdom, does not wait for you to plead before it prepares the answer. It moves ahead of you, guided not by your effort, but by your inner state, your awareness, your silent assumptions. There is a greater intelligence within you that crafts your path not from logic, but from what you believe yourself to be. And it is from this identity that your life unfolds. What appears as a coincidence or stroke of luck is nothing more than the echo of consciousness in motion, an outer picture reflecting an inner reality. The blessing is not coming because you performed the right rituals or said the right words. It's coming because at some point in time, consciously or unconsciously, you aligned with it. You lived in a state that harmonized with the vibration of that gift, and in doing so, you became a match for it. Long before you saw any evidence, there are blessings that belong to you by right of awareness, not effort. You might not remember asking for them, but your state of being asked. Your quiet moments of surrender, your deep inner knowing, your choice to trust when it would have been easier to doubt. All of that spoke louder than any spoken prayer. You must understand that the world you see is not created by external action, it is projected by what you are within. The script of your life is not written by fate, nor is it dictated by chance. It is altered by what you accept as true. And once that truth is accepted, even without conscious intention, the world begins to rearrange itself to match it. So when a blessing arrives unexpectedly, it is never truly random. It is the return of something you already claimed in consciousness. It is the harvest of a seed sown in silence. You may have forgotten the moment you shifted inwardly, but life never did. It remembered. It recorded it. And now it fulfills it. There is a perfect timing for every blessing. And that timing has nothing to do with how long you've been waiting. It has everything to do with how deeply you've become the version of you who can receive it. Some gifts are not withheld. They are simply held back until you can hold them with grace. You do not need to force anything into your life. That which is yours by consciousness cannot be taken, delayed, or denied. It must come. It has to, for this is the law. As within, so without. When the inner script changes, the outer scene must follow. Even now, things are being moved in your favor that you know nothing about. People are being shifted. Opportunities are being prepared. What seemed impossible is quietly becoming inevitable. And all of it is happening because at some level you stopped chasing and started embodying. You didn't have to ask in desperation. You only had to become still enough to know that the answer had already been sent. Life is not reacting to you, it is reflecting you. It is not giving to you because you begged. It is showing you who you've already become. So trust this moment. You are not late, and your blessing is not lost. You are simply arriving at the part of your script where what was written in spirit begins to unfold in form. And when it does, it will feel both miraculous and natural, because deep down you'll know this was always meant for you. You may not remember asking, but your soul did. Long before your conscious mind could shape the words, long before your tongue could form the request, your inner being already whispered your needs to the infinite. And that whisper, pure, silent, and sincere, was heard. The truth is, not all desires are born in the conscious mind. Some are carried in the spirit, etched into the quiet spaces of your being. You might wake up one day feeling drawn to something new, something better, without understanding where that longing came from. But rest assured, it was not random. It was a message returning to you, echoing from a time your soul once reached out and said, "This is what I need." You may believe that because you never said it aloud, it was never known. But the infinite doesn't respond to words alone. It responds to frequency, to feeling, to the energy you emit when you're alone with your truth. In moments of stillness, when your ego is quiet and your heart is soft, your soul makes its petitions known. You may not hear them, but they are heard. And now, the response is on its way. Life is not waiting for you to craft a perfect prayer. It is not withholding blessings until you find the right formula. It is responding to the essence of who you are and what you've been becoming. Your soul speaks fluently the language of alignment. It knows what to ask for even when your mind is uncertain. It knows what you truly need, even when you do not. Have you ever been surprised by a blessing? Something beautiful, perfectly timed, yet entirely unplanned? That is not luck. That is soul language returning to you. That is the answer to a request you don't consciously recall making. You didn't ask with your lips. You asked with your heart. You asked by the way you kept going. You asked by the way you refused to settle. You asked by the way you dreamed quietly while the world told you to give up. There is no expiration date on soul whispers. They live outside of time. What was asked in a moment of silent surrender may bloom years later in a field of grace, but it will bloom. Because soul requests are sacred. They are the true prayers that creation responds to, not shouted demands, but sacred alignment. When you feel a shift coming into your life, when something good is approaching, and you didn't consciously call it forth, remember this truth. Your soul remembered what you forgot. It knew what you couldn't articulate. It asked for what you were too tired to name. And now, the answer is making its way to you. Trust in this unseen dialogue. Just because your conscious mind wasn't aware of the request doesn't mean it wasn't real. The part of you that dreams when you're not sleeping, the part of you that hopes even after heartbreak, the part of you that still believes despite appearances. That part has been speaking all along, and what it asked for is already forming in the invisible. Let go of the need to understand how or why. Let go of the need to control the method or the moment. What is yours is coming, not because you fought for it, not because you chased it, but because the real you asked for it in the only language the universe never ignores: truth. So if you ever wonder why something beautiful has appeared, even though you never prayed for it, smile. Your soul did the asking. And the infinite never forgets a request made from the heart of who you truly are. You're being rewarded for states you've dwelled in silently, not for the loud declarations, not for the visible effort, but for the quiet identities you've worn when no one was watching. Life does not only respond to action, it responds to the vibration you hold. It responds to who you believe yourself to be in your most still, most honest moments. You may not realize it, but you've been creating all along. Every time you imagined a better version of yourself and quietly walked in that feeling, even for a few moments, you planted something. You assumed a state, and that state became a cause. The outer world is only ever an effect. Many believe that only hard work brings the reward, that struggle earns the right to receive. But that is not the full truth. The deeper reality is that your world mirrors the posture of your being, not the desperation of your words, not the intensity of your effort, but the consistency of your inner atmosphere. What you dwell in, you draw in. You have silently chosen peace in situations where chaos was easier. You've quietly assumed success even when the outer world gave you no confirmation. You've walked into rooms and seen yourself as valuable even when no one else acknowledged your worth. These were not just acts of imagination. These were states of being. And the universe, always listening, always responding, recorded them. Now your harvest is arriving. It may seem sudden, but it is not. It may feel unexpected, but it has been long in the making. You simply forgot how many times you chose to dwell in belief rather than fear, in gratitude rather than lack. Those moments added up. Those quiet choices shifted your identity, and it is identity that governs manifestation. Many people manifest. You are not being rewarded because you begged. You are being rewarded because you embodied. You did not need the world's permission to become who you chose to be. You did not wait for circumstances to approve of your vision. You lived from within, and the world has no choice but to reflect that. The most powerful transformation does not come from force, but from assumption. You assumed yourself to be loved. You assumed yourself to be whole. You assumed yourself to be abundant, even when your pockets were empty. And now, life is echoing back what you whispered to yourself so many times in solitude. Understand this: your harvest is not a fluke. It is not an accident. It is a direct return of who you dared to be in the dark. When others watch circumstances, you watch consciousness. When others reacted, you revised. When others spoke of lack, you quietly entertained the atmosphere of abundance. This is not luck. This is law. And the beauty is, you didn't need to perform. You didn't need to convince anyone. You simply remained loyal to the unseen reality you carried inside. The reward is not for noise. It is for alignment. It is for the quiet persistence of being, not the public striving for approval. So when your blessing arrives, and it will, receive it with certainty. Receive it not with surprise, but with quiet knowing. This is what happens when you live in a state long enough for the world to catch up. This is what happens when you let your inner world lead. You are not being rewarded because the world finally saw you. You are being rewarded because you finally saw yourself and stayed there. Delay is not denial, it's design. When what you want doesn't arrive on your timeline, it's easy to feel forgotten. But life is not withholding your blessing out of cruelty or indifference. It's preparing the stage for your arrival. Just because you can't see the movement doesn't mean it isn't happening. Often the most significant work is done behind the curtain, in the invisible, where the foundation is being laid. You may have cried out, begged, visualized, and wondered why nothing changed. You may have questioned your worth, questioned the process, or even questioned the divine. But the truth is, the blessing was never denied to you. It was simply waiting for alignment. What does alignment mean? It means becoming the version of yourself that can hold, honor, and sustain what you're asking for. Not the desperate version, not the fearful version, but the stable, clear, prepared version. Life doesn't give you what you want, it reflects who you are. Until your inner world matches the frequency of the blessing, it cannot fully land. This is not punishment, it's protection. What would it serve you to receive something you're not yet ready for? A relationship, a position, a financial windfall? Any of these in the wrong state of being can slip right through your fingers. But in alignment, they become permanent, not just passing moments of luck. Consider how many blessings you prayed for in the past, and looking back, you now see why they couldn't arrive then. The timing wasn't wrong, it was wise. Certain people were still in your life who would have sabotaged it. Certain habits still controlled you that would have squandered it. Certain beliefs still lived in you that would have rejected it. But now you are different. You have shifted, perhaps without even realizing it. You've outgrown old limitations. You've faced inner shadows. You've started to respond to life differently. And that means the stage is changing, the design is completing, the delivery is near. Do not confuse waiting with stagnation. Waiting is active when you are becoming. Delay is filled with divine intention when you are aligning. And so much has already happened that you haven't seen. Connections forming, doors unlocking, opportunities moving in your direction silently. Not because you forced them, but because your state began to match what you once only imagined. You don't need to chase, you need to tune in. You don't need to beg, you need to become. This is how blessings arrive, not by demand but by resonance. And when it comes, it will come suddenly, though the preparation was long. Like a fruit that seems to ripen overnight, though the tree has been growing silently for months, your blessing will appear fully formed. And it will fit perfectly, not too early, not too late. So stop measuring the delay as a failure. Begin to see it as a sign that something greater is taking shape. The delay is not a punishment, it is alignment in progress. The design is intricate and every detail has been arranged for your highest good. Not just for what you want, but for what will elevate you. Trust the wisdom of life's timing. Let go of forcing and lean into faith. What's meant for you is not in jeopardy. It is in motion. And when it arrives, it will be clear that the delay wasn't the end. It was the architecture of something sacred, something lasting. Delay is not denial. It is divine intelligence moving pieces into place. And soon you'll step onto a stage that has been built just for you. Invisible movements precede visible miracles. This is the nature of creation. What becomes physical was once invisible. Before you ever touch the manifestation, it has already taken form in the unseen. Just because you can't detect progress with your senses doesn't mean nothing is happening. The most powerful shifts occur in silence. You may feel forgotten. You may think nothing is changing. You may look around and wonder if you're stuck. But what you don't see is more significant than what you do. Life is not idle. It is always moving, just not always on your schedule or in your preferred direction. but it is moving with precision, and it is moving in response to who you are becoming. The universe arranges itself around your assumptions. What you persist in imagining, what you emotionally commit to, begins to take shape the moment you dwell in that state. You don't need to ask out loud. You don't even need to fully understand what you want. Your inner world speaks in frequencies, and life listens to that language more clearly than it listens to words. And so even now there are connections forming. People you've never met are being nudged toward your orbit. Doors you don't even know exist are beginning to unlock. Circumstances are being rearranged in the background of your life, not because you demanded it, but because your energy is calling it forth. You are not waiting on the miracle. The miracle is waiting on your full alignment with it. The trap is thinking that visible progress is the only kind of progress. But the seed doesn't sprout the moment it's planted. It pushes against darkness. It breaks apart from the inside out. Roots form first, beneath the surface, where no one claps, where no one sees, where no one praises. But those roots are the miracle in motion. Your life is the same. When things feel quiet, when answers don't come, when nothing appears to be changing, something deeper is. The unseen groundwork is being laid. The people, timing, and opportunities necessary to carry your desire to full expression are being divinely woven together. That is not delay, that is divine order. You must stop assuming that silence means absence. Some of the greatest answers come wrapped in stillness. Some of the biggest blessings grow in invisible places until they are too big to be hidden any longer. The fact that you can't see it is not a sign to give up. It's a sign to trust harder. You don't need to chase what is already being sent. You don't need to obsess over how or when. What is for you is already in movement. The invisible threads are being pulled together by something greater than logic, by a power that knows exactly what you need, even when you don't know how to ask for it. To stay in your state, remain faithful to your vision. Assume that the miracle is on the way, not because of outer proof, but because of inner conviction. You are not ignored. You are being prepared. And life is aligning with your energy whether you see it or not. And when it finally breaks through the surface, when it moves from unseen to seen, you will understand that none of it was random. None of it was luck. It was always coming. The only delay was your readiness to receive it. And now you are ready. Remember, the invisible comes first. The world you touch is simply the echo of what you believed, embodied, and assumed to be true. So walk forward, not with worry, but with quiet confidence, because something is happening, even now. Grace doesn't require permission, only readiness. It is not something you earn through pleading or proving yourself. It is not handed out as a reward for good behavior or hard labor. Grace flows when you are aligned, when the inside of you becomes capable of holding what was always yours to receive. You are not receiving this blessing because you bargained for it. You are receiving it because you became someone who can carry it with strength and humility. There is a version of you who once would have rejected this blessing, unintentionally, unconsciously, not because you didn't want it, but because you didn't yet believe you were worthy of it. You might have sabotaged it, overlooked it, or mistrusted it. That version of you was still attached to an old identity, still rehearsing the language of lack and fear. But something in you has shifted, not loudly, not in ways that others may have noticed, but deeply, subtly. You have started to walk with a different posture. You've begun to speak more gently to yourself, to expect more from life, not from arrogance, but from quiet knowing. You stopped begging for crumbs and started preparing for the feast. That is readiness, and that is what grace responds to. Grace is not transactional. It doesn't ask, have you done enough? It only asks, are you open enough? Are you expanded enough to carry this gift without collapsing under its weight? Because every blessing carries a responsibility. Every answered prayer reshapes your life. And the old version of you couldn't carry it, not because you were unworthy, but because you were unprepared. Now you are becoming. Grace has noticed. The shift didn't happen overnight. It happened in the way you chose patience when you were tired of waiting, in the way you released control even when fear begged you to grip tighter, in the way you stopped trying to prove your worth and began to live it. Those quiet shifts created space, and grace, ever watching, filled that space without hesitation. You didn't force this. You didn't manipulate it. You didn't earn it through suffering. It arrived because your soul finally opened wide enough to let it land. It arrived because you stopped running and started receiving. You let go of timelines. You stopped trying to fix everything. And in that surrender, a door opened. You must understand, grace is not bound by logic. It is not measured by how many steps you've taken or how long you've waited. It simply knows when you're ready. It moves without delay when you've let go of resistance. And often it shows up suddenly, catching you off guard. Not because it's random, but because its delivery never depended on your effort. It depended on your readiness. And now you are ready. You may not feel perfect. You may still have doubts. But perfection was never the requirement. Presence was. A willing heart, an open mind, a soul willing to stretch beyond old stories. That is all grace ever asks for. And now that it sees you become the one who can hold this blessing, it does not hesitate. So when it arrives, this thing you didn't force, this beauty you didn't chase, accept it with confidence. Not pride, not guilt, but quiet acknowledgement that you have finally aligned with it. Let it unfold without question. Let it be easy. Let it be natural. Because that's how grace moves. Effortlessly, generously, without needing your justification. You don't need permission to be blessed. You only need the courage to allow it. And now that you've softened enough to receive what once overwhelmed you, it's yours. Grace does not knock. It walks in when the door is open. And now, it is. You may not have spoken the words, but your soul has been in conversation with the divine all along. The blessings approaching your life are not random. They are responses to states you've silently lived in, truths you've embraced, and versions of yourself you've dared to become. Nothing was denied, only delayed until you were truly ready to hold it. While the world saw stillness, the unseen was moving. You are not being rewarded for asking loudly, but for aligning quietly. Grace does not wait for permission. It flows to those who are finally prepared to receive it. And now, it's your time. What's meant for you is already finding its way to you. Say to thanks, thank you for listening. May you continue to trust the timing of your life, stand firm in your quiet alignment, and receive all that was already yours. Without force, without fear, and without apology. There comes a time in every journey when you feel as though the doors are sealed, the lights dim, and heaven is silent. You've prayed, hoped, imagined, you've walked the path of faith, yet the mountain remains unmoved. But I tell you, when you least expect it, when your hands are no longer grasping and your mind no longer wrestling, that's when the impossible is born. You see, the divine does not move when you're striving. The divine moves when you're surrendered. You do not need to know how. You only need to assume that it is done. Let that be your quiet confidence, not a desperate plea, but a still assurance. When you assume it, you become it. And when you become it inwardly, the outer world is compelled to mirror it. This is why it happens when you least expect it. Because you finally stop standing in the way. The greatest miracles don't scream, they whisper. They don't announce themselves with thunder, they unfold quietly in the background as life continues. You wake up one day and realize the pain has vanished, the call you gave up on has arrived, the way has opened. It was never your job to make it happen, only to know that it would. That desire you hold, it was not placed in you to mock you. It was planted so that it could be fulfilled through you. But it cannot grow in noise. It blooms in silence, in stillness, in trust. The delay you feel is not a denial, it is preparation, not punishment but precision. You are being led, not left. Even now, what seems impossible is already taking form in unseen places. Even now, what looks immovable is already bending. But you must believe, not because of what you see, but because of who you are. You are the vessel through which the impossible becomes real. It is not done to you, it is done through you. When you least expect it, when your striving ceases, when your inner world aligns with the end you desire, the miraculous will no longer be a surprise. It will be your new normal. So rest, not in resignation, but in revelation. Let go. Not because you've given up, but because you now know the impossible is not delayed, it is unfolding in perfect timing, in perfect sequence, in perfect stillness. And when it arrives, you will say, of course, it was always mine. Faith begins where logic ends. This is not just a poetic sentiment. It is the very foundation of how the unseen transforms the seen. Logic is bound by evidence, by what can be measured, calculated, and predicted. It is a beautiful servant, but a poor master. Faith, on the other hand, does not require facts to function. It transcends the limits of what is currently visible and dares to believe in the reality of what is not yet expressed. The mind constantly seeks proof. It asks, how will it happen? When will it come? What's the process? But the heart of faith never waits for answers to these questions. It simply knows. It sees beyond appearances and rests in the assurance that what is imagined and felt with conviction must take form. Think about it. Every invention, every great achievement, every miracle began first in the unseen. No structure, no system, no physical outcome ever existed without first being conceived in the invisible realm of thought and imagination. Faith is the bridge between that invisible world and this tangible one. When we try to live only by logic, we limit ourselves to what has already been done. We rely on history, data, and experience. But faith moves into what has never been done. It dares to touch the impossible. It doesn't require statistics or reassurance. It requires alignment with an inner knowing that something greater is at work, even when all outer signs say otherwise. Faith is not passive. It is a silent creative force that works beneath the surface. Like a seed hidden in soil, it does not prove its existence immediately, but it grows nonetheless. Logic might scoff at the unseen, asking, where is the evidence? But faith responds, it is already done. What seems impossible to the logical mind is perfectly normal to the creative, divine force that governs the universe. There is no shortage in this infinite intelligence, no restriction, no impossibility. What we call miracles are not exceptions to the rule. They are simply results of alignment with a higher law. The unseen is not empty, it is full. It is the blueprint of all that will ever be. And faith is the key that unlocks it. When you believe with full confidence in what you cannot yet see, feel, or touch, you become a participant in creation itself. You stop begging for things to happen and begin embodying the energy of already having them. You must understand faith does not need your help in figuring out the details. It only needs your trust. The moment you let go of trying to logically force outcomes, you make space for something greater to unfold. And it is in that very surrender, when your mind stops wrestling and your heart starts knowing, that the impossible begins to form. So when all logic fails you, when the path seems unclear, and when nothing around you supports your dream, rejoice. For in that sacred space where logic can no longer guide you, faith begins to work. And where faith works, the unseen begins to shape the world in your favor. Your assumption is not a passive thought, it is a command to the universe. Whatever you dare to assume is true, regardless of appearances, facts, or logic, begins to shape your reality in ways your senses cannot yet perceive. Assumption is the quiet architect of destiny. It builds bridges between the world as it is and the world as it could be. And these bridges are invisible at first, but their structure is just as real as steel or stone. The situation is to claim something without needing physical evidence. It is the bold act of living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is not wishing, not hoping, and certainly not doubting. It is entering into the state where what you desire is already true and allowing your inner world to reflect that truth in full conviction. You do not assume lightly. You assume deliberately and persistently, knowing that this act of inner alignment begins to move unseen forces into motion. You may not see the immediate outcome. That's not your concern. You don't plant a seed today and expect fruit tomorrow, but you trust the process. In the same way, assumption is the seed of reality. The assumption you hold, especially the one you return to consistently, becomes the foundation of what is constructed in your outer life. It draws people, circumstances, and events to fulfill it. And it does so not because you forced it, but because you believed it. Everything in your life right now is a reflection of past assumptions, some conscious, some unconscious. If you assumed you were always overlooked, life gave you more evidence of that. If you assumed that things never work out for you, situations confirmed it. But the good news is this: the moment you change the assumption, you begin to change the pattern. The bridge to a new reality forms the instant you dare to assume something greater. And it is a daring act. To assume wealth while in poverty, to assume love while alone, to assume health while sick. It is not easy. It is radical. It goes against everything the outer world tells you. But that is where true power lies, in standing firm in what is unseen and giving it more weight than what is seen. Assume what you want, not what you fear. Assume the best, not the worst. Assume that you are already in possession of what you seek. Speak, walk, and feel from that place, and watch as the outer world begins to conform. This is not imagination as fantasy. This is imagination as creation. The bridge of assumption is real. It will carry you over doubt, over delay, and over every appearance that says, not yet. All you must do is continue walking in the feeling that it is already done. What you dare to assume, you invite. What you persist in assuming, you experience. So choose wisely. For your assumption is not a fleeting thought. It is the blueprint of your future. Delay is one of the greatest illusions on the spiritual path. It tempts you to doubt, to worry, to assume that because it has not yet appeared, it never will. But delay is not denial, it is divine design. It is the quiet orchestration of something more perfect than your limited view can comprehend. Just because you cannot yet see it does not mean it is not happening. What feels like a delay is often a period of preparation, alignment, and refinement, where everything is being arranged behind the scenes in precise order. You may ask for something and not receive it immediately. That is not rejection, it is sacred timing. If you could see the full map of your life, you would understand that certain things must fall into place before others can appear. You are not being punished, you are being positioned. And this positioning requires you to surrender the illusion of control. When you release control, when you stop pushing, forcing, and doubting, that's when the power truly begins to work. The divine does not need your effort, it needs your alignment. Control is rooted in fear, but surrender is rooted in faith. And faith is what moves mountains. Faith trusts that even in silence something is happening. Even in stillness the path is being made clear. You were never meant to carry the weight of the how. Your role is not to force creation, but to allow it. The moment you release your anxious grip, the spiritual machinery begins to move. It is like planting a seed in the ground. You do not dig it up daily to check its progress. You water it, trust it, and let it unfold in its own perfect rhythm. What appears delayed is often just hidden in ways that protect it until the right conditions arrive. Sometimes, if your desire came too soon, it would collapse under its own weight. You must become the version of yourself who is ready to hold it, sustain it, and honor it. And that transformation takes time. So when it looks like nothing is happening, know that everything is happening. The divine is not slow. The divine is exact. Your delay is divine choreography. 1,000 invisible threads being woven into a pattern too vast for your eyes to see just yet. Trust the silence. Trust the waiting. Trust that you are not behind and you are not forgotten. There is no missed opportunity in divine timing. What is for you will reach you when you are ready, not when you are desperate. Let this be your peace, that what you have asked for has already been heard, and the only thing required now is your trust. Do not mistake the quiet for denial. Do not confuse the pause for absence. Your answer is on its way, designed, refined, and delivered in a way more powerful than you could ever plan. When you release control, you give permission for the miraculous to unfold. And it always does in perfect time. The very fact that your desire seems impossible is the proof that it belongs to something greater than your current self. If it were simple, if it required no stretch of belief, no transformation of identity, then it would not be divine. The impossible is not a barrier, it is a signal. It marks the territory of the miraculous. It tells you that what you are reaching for is not just a change in circumstance, but a shift in consciousness. The impossible invites you to awaken. If you could do it in your own strength, there would be no need for faith, no need for surrender, no need for the unseen to come alive. But when something stands before you that logic cannot solve, when it appears that there is no way through, that is where the divine shows its signature. The impossible is the divine's canvas. It is the space where the ordinary mind fails and the infinite intelligence takes over. Many turn away at the sight of impossibility. They shrink, they settle, they say it cannot be done. But the one who understands truth sees impossibility as the doorway, not as an end, but as the beginning. For what is a miracle, if not the resolution of something that had no earthly answer? What is divine intervention, if not the appearance of the impossible becoming real? The impossible humbles the ego. It silences the pride that says, I can do it alone, and opens the heart to a higher collaboration. When you face a mountain that cannot be moved by human hands, you are positioned perfectly for the miraculous. It is not an accident that your dream stretches beyond your resources, beyond your abilities, beyond your timeline. It is by design, because only when the ego lets go can the higher power come in. If it were easy, you might forget who gave it to you. But when the impossible unfolds before your eyes, you will know it wasn't you alone. It was the unseen forces responding to your inner alignment. It was the power that heard your silent faith and met you beyond the limits of reason. The impossible is the invitation to rise, to believe without evidence, to walk by inner vision rather than outer sight. When you embrace the impossible, you declare that you are ready to operate from a higher level of being, not just doing. You become a vessel through which the extraordinary flows into the ordinary world. So do not fear what looks unachievable. Do not doubt the size of the vision. The greater the impossibility, the clearer the signature of the divine. It means you're not building from the ground up. You're building from the inside out, where all things are already possible. Remember, miracles are not random. They are the response to bold faith in the face of the impossible. And when you choose to see impossibility as the evidence of divinity, you position yourself not as a beggar of blessings, but as a co-creator of the miraculous. You are not waiting on God. God is waiting on you, specifically waiting on your inner shift. The delay is never in the divine. It is in your own alignment with what you seek. We often speak of waiting as if the power is outside of us, as if some higher force is holding back our blessings. But in truth, what we experience in life is not dictated by time, but by the state of our consciousness. Everything you desire already exists, in potential, in spirit, in the invisible field that responds to your assumption. The question is not whether your desire is possible, but whether you are living from the place where it is already so. The shift must happen within. When your internal world reflects the outcome, your external world has no choice but to conform. You cannot continue to think lack and expect abundance. You cannot feel unworthy and expect love to arrive. You cannot carry the energy of doubt and expect a miracle to manifest. The divine is always ready. The moment you step into the version of yourself who has, rather than the one who wants, the current begins to move. What you call waiting is often just resistance wearing the mask of patience. The universe is not responding to your words. It is responding to your state. You might affirm, visualize, or even pray daily, but if underneath it all, you still feel separation from what you seek, you are telling creation, it is not mine yet. But the moment you truly feel the reality of your desire, even before a single piece of evidence appears, you collapse the gap. You shift from waiting to receiving. This is the key. Feel it now. Don't wait for the condition to give you permission to feel whole, love, free, or abundant. Let the feeling precede the fact. This is not self-deception. This is spiritual alignment. And once your inner world is aligned, the outer world becomes obedient. The moment you embody the energy of what you desire, God moves. Life reconfigures. Circumstances that were frozen begin to shift. People you never expected to meet appear. Doors you couldn't force open begin to swing wide with ease. The impossible starts becoming inevitable because you've stopped doubting and started dwelling in the fulfilled state. This is why some receive quickly and others wait for years. It has nothing to do with effort and everything to do with consciousness. You are not waiting for a blessing to be created, it already exists. You are only waiting for your inner world to become the match for it. The match becomes the manifest in the present, because the present is everything is already. So stop looking outward. Turn inward. Ask yourself not where is it, but am I living as if it's already mine? That one question will shift everything. The divine is always ready to pour out what you are ready to receive. But readiness is not about time. It is about identity. The moment you become it in feeling, life has no choice but to bring it to form. The world around you is waiting for the world within you to awaken. Miracles do not arrive with noise. They do not march in with trumpets or demand your constant attention. Miracles happen in the silence, when the noise of fear, doubt, and control has finally quieted. They emerge not in your striving, but in your stillness. In the moments when you've surrendered, when you're no longer trying to force outcomes or chase validation, something powerful takes root. The seed of your desire, long buried in the soil of your imagination, begins to crack open. This is the mystery of creation. What grows often grows quietly. The most profound changes take place when nothing seems to be happening. You may think you're stuck, overlooked, or forgotten. You may believe your dream is taking too long. But what you cannot see is how deeply life is moving beneath the surface. Just as a seed breaks in complete darkness before it ever touches the light, your desire begins its blooming in invisible realms, long before it reaches your hands. When you let go, not in defeat but in deep trust, you create space for the miracle to enter. Holding on too tightly blocks the flow. Trying to micromanage divine timing disrupts the natural order. But the moment you release the weight of how and rest in the feeling of it is done, something sacred begins to stir. This is the paradox. When you no longer need it to happen, you become the most aligned with its arrival. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means you've moved from anxiety to assurance. It means your inner state has matured beyond waiting and into knowing. In this silence, your energy becomes magnetic. Circumstances rearrange, opportunities unfold, people show up, all without your manipulation. The very things you were chasing begin to find their way to you, drawn by the quiet conviction in your heart. Most people miss their miracle because they expect it to come through effort, through constant doing. But spiritual power is not loud. It whispers. It moves in stillness. The breakthroughs often come when you're not looking, not because you've stopped wanting, but because you've finally trusted enough to rest. You've stopped standing over the seed, doubting its growth, and instead you've let the soil of belief do its work. There is a sacred rhythm to life, and miracles obey that rhythm. They arrive when you're in harmony with the end result, not when you're clinging in desperation. When you least expect, when you're walking in peace, focused on the present, and detached from outcomes, the impossible blooms effortlessly. So do not be discouraged by the silence. Do not misinterpret quiet as absence. Silence is the atmosphere of miracles. It is the space where the invisible becomes visible, where the formless takes form. Let your heart be still. Let your mind release. And trust that what you have planted in faith is growing, even if you hear nothing. For in the silence, life is speaking. And soon, when you least expect it, that still whisper will become your undeniable miracle. What you thought was delayed was always in motion. What seemed impossible was only waiting for your belief. The divine is not far away. It is within you, waiting for your inner world to align with your highest vision. When logic ends, faith begins. When you dare to assume the best, you become the bridge to your own breakthrough. And when you let go and trust the silence, the seed you planted with feeling begins to bloom. Often when you least expect it. You are not waiting on God. God is waiting on you to remember your true power. The impossible is not a barrier. It's your invitation to rise, to believe, and to receive. Thank you for opening your heart and mind to this message. May these words not just be heard, but lived. Trust the unseen, rest in the knowing, and allow the divine to do what only it can. Bring the impossible to life through you. Close your eyes for a moment and remember this. What you accept as true in the silence of your heart, you are destined to experience in the light of day. The world is only a mirror. It must reflect back what you dare to believe in secret. You have carried visions within you, desires, dreams, longings that no one knows about but you and the divine. You've believed when nothing changed. You've walked when the road was invisible. You've spoken to the unseen and trusted when others mocked your silence. And yet something in you never gave up. That was not weakness. That was the very proof that God is alive within you. Now hear this. God is not unjust to forget the work done in faith. Your reward is not only coming, it is coming in a way that no one will be able to ignore. You see, God does not repay you in private when you labored in belief with no audience. The one who waited in silence, who wept in the dark, who praised through pain, will be rewarded in full view of those who doubted. The overflow is coming not as a trickle, not as a whisper, but as a flood, and it is not because of begging, not because of pleasing others. It is because you remain true to your vision. You held the image, you stayed in the state, you refused to collapse under delay, and now reality must obey the blueprint you've etched in faith. Public reward is the echo of private persistence. Let them talk, let them wonder how it happened, let them call it luck. You will know. It was written long before it showed up. It was yours before the world applauded. You possessed it in spirit before you touched it in form. Now you will be honored not because you chased it, but because you became it. God is not withholding. He is unfolding. The reward is not coming to you. It's rising through you. Prepare your heart, for the overflow has already begun. You are not waiting on God. God is waiting on your belief. That truth, once understood, changes everything. Most people think they are stuck in life because the timing is off or circumstances haven't yet aligned. But what if it was never about time and always about consciousness? What if the reality you seek isn't ahead of you but inside of you right now, quietly waiting for you to accept it as real? Everything in your external world is a mirror. Not a punishment, not a test, but a perfect reflection of what you have accepted as true within yourself. The outer world does not create your inner state. It is the other way around. What you assume, what you emotionally accept, what you persist in mentally, becomes flesh. Every belief you hold forms the structure of your experience. If you believe the world is harsh, people will mirror that belief. If you believe you are overlooked, you will be. But if you dare to believe you are chosen, that you are loved, that your success is inevitable, even before a single sign appears, then all of creation begins to move in harmony with that inner picture. There is a sacred truth in the silence. What you carry within in secret must become the scene of your outer life. You don't have to tell anyone. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to hustle for what is already yours in spirit. What matters is that you persist inwardly in the assumption of your desired state. You must live from it, not toward it. You must think from the outcome, not of it. Your assumption is the seed. No seed shows its flower overnight, but it contains the whole tree in its silence. Just because you cannot see your desire doesn't mean it isn't working. The moment you claim it within, the moment you say it is done in consciousness, the process begins. It will grow. It will push through time. It will emerge in a way that will make others wonder how you did it. And that is the beauty of the process. The harvest will be visible to all. Those who saw you lacking will see you overflowing. Those who heard your cries in the dark will see you walking in light, not because you begged, not because you worked harder than others, but because you dared to assume it was already true when there was no evidence. The world will bend to match what you have long carried in secret. So stop trying to force the outside to change. Begin instead with your inner vision. Water it daily with belief. Protect it from the voices of doubt, and above all, know that God is not waiting to give it to you. He already has. He is only waiting for you to believe. There is a sacred power in private faith. The kind of faith that doesn't need applause, doesn't ask for approval, and doesn't demand that anyone else understand. It is quiet. It is still. It lives within the heart of the one who believes, even when the world offers no confirmation. This kind of faith is not broadcasted. It is carried. It doesn't cry out for validation because it knows what the end looks like long before it arrives. And when you dare to believe in silence, when you hold firm to your conviction in the invisible, you activate something far greater than circumstance. You awaken divine justice. To believe without evidence is one of the highest forms of spiritual maturity. It is easy to have faith when doors are opening, when people are supporting you, when results are immediate. But what about when there is no sign, when everything around you contradicts what you feel called to believe? That is where true creation begins. In the unseen, in the silence, in the stillness of knowing something deeper than what your eyes can see. When you persist in that invisible knowing, when you refuse to abandon your inner conviction, even when reality tells you no, then the heavens take notice. Because faith, in its purest form, is not a performance. It's a posture of the soul that says, I know it is done, long before anything happens. And when you remain loyal to that inner posture, when you keep showing up as if the thing you desire is already yours, something begins to shift. The reward does not come quietly. It comes in a way that cannot be hidden. It arrives in the open, in the light, in the presence of those who doubted, questioned, or even laughed. This is not to embarrass them, but to glorify what was done in secret. It is the way divine justice works. What was held privately in faith is revealed publicly in reward. It's not about proving people wrong. It's about showing that belief shapes reality, that unseen conviction is more powerful than visible facts, that holding a vision in your heart is the highest form of spiritual authority. And when you live from that place, when you speak, act, and think as if the unseen is more real than the seen, you align with the natural order of the universe. God does not overlook private faith. In fact, it is the very thing that draws him near. It is the proof that you trust without needing signs. And because of that trust, your reward is multiplied, not just given, but displayed. Not just received, but revealed. So continue to believe in silence. Continue to walk quietly with your vision. Because the reward is not coming to satisfy your ego. It is coming to glorify your faith. And when it comes, the world will see with their eyes what you saw first in your spirit. Delay is one of the most misunderstood parts of the journey. We often assume that if something is taking time, we must be doing something wrong, or worse, that God is withholding what we desire. But the truth is far more sacred. Delay is not denial. It is divine alignment. What appears to be waiting is in reality preparation. It is a holy process, shaping you into the version of yourself who can fully hold, handle, and honor what is coming. The universe is never late. It moves in exact harmony with the state of your mind and spirit. If your desire hasn't shown up yet, it isn't because it's not meant for you. It's because something within you is still expanding. And that expansion cannot be rushed. You're not just being prepared for the blessing The blessing is being prepared for you. The two must meet in perfect resonance. You may feel ready, but divine timing sees beyond your current awareness. What's coming is not small. It's not temporary. It's not a glimpse. It's overflow. And overflow doesn't arrive in pieces. It arrives in fullness, in totality. And to receive that kind of abundance, your inner container, your beliefs, your self-concept, your expectations must grow to match it. Think of it like pouring water into a cup. If the cup is too small, the water will spill and be lost. The blessing is not being delayed to punish you. It is being protected from spilling through your unpreparedness. Every moment of waiting is expanding your capacity to receive without breaking, to overflow without drowning, and to carry greatness without shrinking from it. In these moments of delay, you're not stagnant. You're being refined. Your mindset is being stretched. Your assumptions are being tested. Your vision is being deepened. You're learning how to think from the end, not just hope for it. You're building inner stability so that when the reward arrives, it doesn't shake you, it establishes you. The mind must become the shape of the desire. The identity must match the manifestation. If you desire something extraordinary, you must become extraordinary in your awareness. That is the unseen work being done during the waiting. You are not being ignored. You are being aligned. So do not curse the delay. Do not panic when the timeline stretches. Instead, bless the space between your desire and its arrival. This is the womb of manifestation. This is where roots grow deep, foundations are built, and strength is born. When the reward does come, it won't be fragile. It won't be something you question. It will fit perfectly because you were shaped for it. Remember, the longer the preparation, the greater the manifestation. Overflow is not a moment. It is a new state of life. And it comes not when you beg, not when you push, but when you are fully aligned within. Keep going. You are not being denied. You are being readied for more than you imagine. You don't get what you wish for. You get what you've embodied. This is the fundamental law that governs every manifestation. Wishing implies distance. It implies hope that something outside of you will change. But embodiment is entirely different. It means you have accepted the end as real. It means you have moved in consciousness and claimed the desire as already yours. The world is not separate from your inner world. It is the visible echo of your invisible thoughts. The outer is simply the projection of the inner image you have impressed upon your imagination. And this impression, once made with feeling and persistence, must express itself in form. It is law. Many continue to wish and wait, never realizing that their delay is rooted in separation. To wish is to remain outside the experience. To imagine yourself wanting keeps the desire always ahead, always out of reach. But when you shift from wishing to knowing, from longing to living it within, the change begins. The shift is subtle but powerful. You stop asking when and start saying thank you. You stop looking for signs and start moving as if it's already done. The inner picture is everything. Your world must conform to it because your world is built by it. Reality is not something happening to you. It is something happening through you. If you carry an image of lack, you'll meet lack. If you carry an image of love, you'll attract love. The picture you consistently hold determines the outcome you consistently meet. And this is why the reward matches the inner picture, not the outer effort. You can work hard, take action, push and strive, but if the inner picture contradicts your effort, you will find yourself exhausted and frustrated, because your actions are only as effective as the consciousness they come from. Your reward is not based on effort alone, it is based on embodiment. What have you accepted as true? What have you felt real? What have you dared to imagine consistently, even in the face of current conditions? That is where the harvest comes from. The beautiful thing is, the moment your assumption is sincere, deeply felt, truly believed, the outcome becomes inevitable. You don't need to force it. You don't need to chase it. Life will begin to move, often quietly, aligning people, opportunities, and events to match what you have already lived in imagination. You are not here to earn blessings. You are here to recognize them, to become the person who already has them. That is the secret to receiving. So take your eyes off the appearance. Don't ask how or when. Ask only, what am I embodying right now? Because the answer to that question will show itself soon enough. Not through coincidence, not through chance, but as a mirror of your own consciousness. Till the mind imperfectly gauges, the reward was never outside of you. It has always been the natural result of the image you dared to hold within. Overflow is not accidental. It is not a stroke of luck or a random moment of favor. It is the direct result of unwavering loyalty to the unseen vision planted within you. That inner vision, the one that whispers to your heart when the world is silent, is not a fantasy. It is a divine instruction, a glimpse of what's possible, a seed from the infinite entrusted to your imagination so that you might water it with belief and persistence. When you stay obedient to that vision, despite what things look like, despite delays, despite opposition, overflow becomes inevitable. You are not being tested to see how strong you are. You are being given the opportunity to prove your loyalty to the end you have seen in spirit. Most people waver. They see the vision, feel the excitement, and then abandon it when conditions contradict it. But the ones who experience overflow are not the ones who try harder. They are the ones who stay faithful. To stay obedient means to live from the vision, not toward it. You begin to think, feel, speak, and act in alignment with the unseen. You train your inner world to match the reality you have claimed, even when nothing outside confirms it. And as you do, something powerful happens. Life begins to shape itself around your consistency. Doors open, resources appear, people aligned, not because you forced it, but because you held the vision long enough for the world to mirror it. The universe must respond to what is consistently affirmed in spirit. What you repeat, believe, and dwell in becomes the foundation of your outer experience. This is not magical thinking, it is spiritual law. All things multiply from their origin, and your origin is thought, emotion, and assumption. You do not manifest from mere desire, you manifest from conviction. And conviction is formed through repetition and loyalty. If you say, I am abundant today and I am worried tomorrow, you are double-minded. But if you say, I am abundant with sincerity, again and again, no matter how empty things appear, you are shaping the invisible substance of your world. You are building the structure that overflow must fill. You are becoming the vessel that cannot be denied. Obedience to the vision means you trust it more than you trust appearances. You hold it higher than fear. You believe it more than the evidence around you. And when you do, you align with a higher order. An order where what is unseen governs what is seen. Overflow is not a reward for your efforts. It is the natural result of your alignment. It is the outcome of embodying the truth before it becomes visible. The vision is not just a promise. It's a command to become. And when you become the version of yourself that already has what you seek, You can no longer be separated from it. Stay loyal to what was whispered to your spirit. That vision was given to you for a reason. And if you refuse to let go of it, if you obey it with your thoughts, feelings, and actions, then overflow must come. It has no choice. It is the fruit of your inner faithfulness. There is something sacred about the things you carry in silence. The dreams you dare not speak aloud, the battles you face behind closed doors, the faith you cling to when no one is watching. These moments are unseen by others, but not by God. Every tear cried in solitude, every quiet act of trust, every silent affirmation of belief is recorded in the unseen realm. And while the world may not have applauded your journey, heaven has never looked away. God does not need you to perform your faith. He is not moved by outward displays or grand declarations. He is moved by the authenticity of your heart. It's what you believe when the lights are off and the audience is gone that shapes your destiny. The secret place, your inner world, is where creation begins. It is where God plants the seed of vision and waits to see if you'll nurture it in silence. To conceive something in secret means to carry it in your spirit before it has taken form. It means you have allowed yourself to believe in what has not yet been seen. You've dared to accept a reality that your current circumstances do not yet reflect. And that kind of faith, quiet, consistent, and unwavering, moves the hand of God. You don't need to announce your process. You don't need to prove to others what you're believing for. The promise is not dependent on their validation. It's dependent on your alignment. And when you remain aligned, when you continue to walk as if the unseen is more real than the seen, your reward must come. And when it comes, it will not be small. It will not be something you can hide. It will be undeniable. God rewards what you've carried in secret in a way that demands attention, not to elevate your ego, but to glorify His faithfulness. The very things you whispered in prayer, the visions you held when no one else saw, will manifest in a way that causes people to wonder how it happened. But you will know. You will remember the nights you chose faith over fear. You will remember the days you refused to give up when the evidence said you should. You will remember how you kept showing up, quietly and faithfully, in belief. And now, what was formed in secret will be celebrated in the open. God is not just the author of your vision. He is the finisher. And He finishes in ways that make the process worth it. The waiting, the weeping, the wondering, it wasn't in vain. Every moment was building towards something too glorious to be hidden. Your faith is about to be honored, publicly. So hold your head high, not in pride, but in knowing. The time is near. What you conceived in secret is about to take form. And when it does, no one will be able to deny that it was God who did it. You were never forgotten. Every silent prayer, every unseen act of faith, every moment you chose to believe instead of doubt, it has all been building toward this. You didn't need to fight for attention, beg for recognition, or chase approval. You just had to stay loyal to the vision, obedient to the unseen, and faithful in spirit. And now the reward is coming, not quietly but publicly, not barely but in overflow, because the God who saw you in secret is about to glorify you in the open. Your harvest will not be hidden. The world will witness the outcome of your quiet belief, and it will be undeniable. The overflow is not just coming, it has already begun. Thank you, message. Thank you for watching and allowing this message to speak to your spirit. If it stirred something within you, if it reminded you of the vision you are holding, keep going. Your faith is working, even when it feels invisible. Stay connected, stay aligned, and remember, the reward is already on its way. Blessings to you always. Tonight, as the world falls silent and the noise of the day disappears into the hush of twilight, you are given a sacred window, a portal to create, to transform, to receive, not through effort, not through pleading, not through desperate prayers or outward gestures, but through the unseen, silent power within you, the power to imagine, to feel, and to become. For it is not what you say to them with your words that reaches their heart. It is what you say to them through your inner conviction. If you want to hook their heart like magic, you must first become magnetic. And you become magnetic by believing without needing proof. Close your eyes tonight, take a deep breath, and in that stillness, see them in front of you. See their eyes soften, full of love. See the way they look at you as if you are the answer they never knew they needed. Do not wish, do not hope, simply assume that it already is, that the connection already exists, that they already feel the pull, the desire, the awe of your presence. Let your imagination become the truth, for whatever you accept as true within must express itself without. Create a simple scene tonight, no longer than a few seconds. Perhaps they are holding your hand, perhaps they are saying, "I've never felt this way before." Or maybe it's the warmth of their embrace, the joy in their voice. Replay the scene until it moves from fantasy to familiarity, until it feels real, undeniable, and then let it go. You don't need to chase them. You don't need to wonder how. The truth is, your inner world commands the outer world. Your love, when felt from within, will be returned. They may not understand why. They may say, "You've been on my mind," or "I don't know what it is about you." But you will know. You will smile quietly because you created it in the unseen. So tonight, before sleep, do this. Let your heart believe that you are already chosen, already wanted, already loved. And when you do, their heart, like magic, will follow. Imagination is not mere fantasy. It is a divine instrument through which your world is shaped and through which others are drawn to you. When it comes to love, attention, connection, whatever you imagine of another, they receive it. Not by speech, not by effort, but by the silent power of your inner world. Every thought you hold about someone is a seed. And in the invisible soil of your consciousness, that seed grows. You may never utter a word, never send a message, never make a call, and yet your thoughts will reach them. This is the law. This is the unseen relationship between your imagination and their heart. If you imagine them distant, cold, unsure, you feed that reality. If you believe they are confused about you, they will become exactly that. You are the author of the script they follow, not through manipulation, but through assumption. What you believe about them, they begin to reflect. Because in the unseen world, we are all connected. There is no separation. You are not waiting for them to love you. You are either imagining they already do, or you are pushing it away with doubt. The moment you dare to see them with love in their eyes, warmth in their voice, certainty in their soul, you initiate a silent transmission. And the beauty of this is that they don't even know why they begin to shift. They may feel a sudden urge to think of you, reach out, miss you. Why? Because you sent the signal. Because in the secret sanctuary of your mind, you spoke to their spirit. You believed they were already yours. This is not about fantasy or wishful thinking. It is about creation, true conscious creation. You are not chasing anyone. You are inviting them in by holding the vision of love and connection without fear. You are imagining them seeing your worth, feeling pulled to your presence, recognizing the value of your soul. And as you do this night after night, it becomes easier, not because you are trying harder, but because you are finally allowing yourself to trust the unseen. The world will tell you that you need to act, pursue, control, but the inner world tells a different story. It whispers that what you hold inside becomes what you see outside. If you want to be loved, stop imagining rejection. If you want to be chosen, stop imagining neglect. If you want to be remembered, stop imagining being forgotten. What you imagine of them, they begin to feel. You do not need to speak it. You only need to know it. This is why imagination is the bridge to their heart, because nothing connects two souls more powerfully than thought infused with belief. And when your inner vision becomes saturated with love, peace, and certainty, they have no choice but to meet you in that space. They are drawn not to your words, but to the invisible presence you carry. So tonight, when the world is quiet, go within. Picture them clearly, feel them lovingly, and know beyond doubt that what you imagine of them, they are already becoming. Because their heart is not separate from yours. You are not wishing, you are creating, and through imagination, their heart responds. Assume the feeling of already being desired. Let that become your inner truth, not just a fleeting thought, but a felt experience that lives within you. The moment you do this, you step into a reality where love is no longer something to chase. It's something that flows to you naturally. You are no longer waiting for confirmation, for messages, for signs. You are the confirmation. You are the sign. This is not about pretending. It's about stepping into the state of already being wanted, already being adored, already being chosen. When you hold yourself in this vibration, everything begins to shift. People feel the change in you even if you say nothing. You move differently. You speak with more calm. You breathe with ease. You're no longer craving, they are. You're no longer questioning, they are. Wondering why they can't stop thinking about you. To unify the feeling of being desired means walking through your day with the inner knowing that someone out there can't stop thinking about you. It means feeling that you are the one they talk about, dream about, long to be with. You aren't seeking validation, you are radiating it. And when you radiate it, it returns to you in ways you cannot predict. You do not attract love by effort. You attract it by embodiment. When you become the version of yourself that already feels deeply desired, your entire energy field becomes magnetic. You don't have to make someone see your worth. They feel it. You don't need to convince them to want you. They begin to question why they ever didn't. This is the power of assumption. It is the quiet choice to live from the end, to decide that it is already done. You are already loved, already chosen, already pursued. And because you feel this is true, the world begins to shape itself around your feeling. The law is simple. You receive what you are, not what you wait for. And when you are the embodiment of desire, desire meets you. Feel what it would be like if they already loved you deeply. Don't just think it, feel it in your body. Imagine the warmth in their voice when they speak your name. Imagine their eyes lighting up when they see you. Imagine the peace in your heart, knowing you are no longer wondering, no longer reaching, no longer hoping. It is done. You are already theirs in the invisible realm. And the invisible becomes visible when you persist in the feeling, not with desperation, but with quiet certainty, with inner peace, with grace. The fastest way to attract someone is not to get their attention. It is to move into the version of yourself that no longer doubts your value. Because when you do, your world bends to match your conviction. They begin to feel a pull they cannot explain, a need to connect, a curiosity that grows into longing, not because you chased, but because you assumed. Assume it tonight. Fall asleep with the knowing that someone already feels deeply drawn to you. Hold that feeling, and the world will echo it back. You do not beg for desire, you become it. And in becoming it, you are met with it. Every time. Use the silence of the night as your creative chamber. For when the day fades and the noise of the world dies down, you are left with something far more powerful than external activity, your inner voice. It is here in the stillness of night that creation begins. Not with effort, not with striving, but with the simple sacred act of imagining. The hours before sleep are not ordinary. They are mystical. Your mind becomes porous, open, impressionable. The world outside no longer demands your attention, and your thoughts become clearer, your visions sharper. This is your moment. This is where you plant the seeds of tomorrow. You see, the mind does not rest when the body sleeps. It continues to move, to process, to create. And whatever mood, belief, or image you impress upon it before you drift into slumber, it accepts as truth. That is why the final thoughts before sleep matter so much more than you may realize. They are not just idle dreams. They are blueprints. Before sleep, you are closer to the divine, to the source of all creation. In that quiet chamber of your mind, you are the artist, and the canvas is untouched. There are no distractions, no logic arguing with you, no doubts shouting over your desires, just silence and the gentle whisper of what could be. In this sacred silence, dare to imagine only the best. Dare to see yourself already living the life you long for. See the relationship healed. See the love returned. See the success manifested, not in some far-off future, but now. Feel it, not as a wish, but as something already received. This is not fantasy, this is alignment. This is creation. What you feed your subconscious mind as you drift into sleep is what it begins to arrange, attract, and manifest. There is no effort in this. Only surrender, only intention, only focus. Many spend the night replaying their worries, reliving old pain, imagining worst-case scenarios, and unknowingly they continue to create more of it. But the wise know the power of these final moments. They turn away from the outer world and close the door. They speak only what they wish to see. They see only what they wish to live. And they trust that what is imagined in silence must rise in form. Tonight, give yourself this gift. Turn off the distractions, lay down not with worry but with wonder. What if it really is that simple? What if the life you long for is just a few nights of focused inner creation away? Close your eyes and feel the desire fulfilled. Hear the words you've longed to hear. Picture the outcome you begged the world to show you, and then let go. Drift into sleep with the feeling that it is already yours. Let your subconscious take over and begin the invisible arrangement of all the pieces needed to bring it to you. The silence of night is not empty. It is filled with power waiting to be shaped. So shape it well. Speak only blessings to your mind. See only beauty with your inner eye, and know that the world you will awaken to is already being formed in the silence you embrace tonight. Let go of chasing. Become the one they cannot resist. For what you chase, you affirm, is not yet yours. What you pursue with desperation, you push further away. The moment you stop needing them to want you, need you, or choose you, that is the moment they begin to feel drawn in. True attraction begins not when you run after someone, but when you become the version of yourself that no longer needs to. There is nothing more magnetic than someone who is sure of themselves, not arrogant, not indifferent, but deeply anchored in self-worth. When you walk in that energy, when you carry yourself with calm confidence, people feel it. It's not in the words you say, but in the silent language of your presence. You no longer wait to be chosen. You know you already are. The world responds to what you radiate, not what you request. You can say you want love, but if you're vibrating with doubt, fear, or need, that is what others unconsciously pick up on. But when you are full within, when you know you are love itself, then you become irresistible. You stop asking, do they want me? And instead live in the knowing that your value does not decrease based on someone else's attention or absence. Letting go of chasing isn't about giving up. It's about shifting the source of your power. It's realizing you don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to perform or persuade. You simply have to embody the version of you that knows how worthy, radiant, and enough you already are. When you shift into that state, you naturally attract those who are aligned with that same energy. Chasing creates imbalance. It tells the story that something is missing, that you must go out and get it. But magnetism comes from stillness, from alignment, from inner certainty. It's like a flame that needs no announcement. Its heat and light simply draw others in. Be that flame. Be the calm in the storm. Be the one who no longer runs after, but stands firmly in knowing that what is yours cannot miss you. People are drawn to those who don't need their love to feel complete. Why? Because it feels safe. It feels secure. It feels powerful. And deep down, everyone wants to be close to that kind of presence. You become the prize, not by demanding it, but by being it, by living it, by breathing it. Start tonight. Begin to drop the story of I need them. Replace it with I am whole, I am wanted, I am chosen. Not from ego, but from truth. Feel what it would be like to be the one they think about, long for, admire, without effort. That version of you exists. Step into it. Let go of the chase. Walk away from the need to convince. Fall into the energy of self-certainty and love that needs no outside proof. And watch as they begin to notice, as they begin to feel the shift, as they move toward you, not because you pursued them, but because you became the version of you they could never forget. Create a mental scene where they are already yours, not in some distant future, but now, in this moment, in this breath. See them with you, not in fantasy, not in desperation, but with the calm knowing that this is your truth. This is your reality. This is the unseen becoming seen. Close your eyes and enter the sacred theater of your mind. Imagine a moment that would naturally take place if they were already in love with you, already committed, already present in your life. Maybe it's a simple conversation on a quiet evening. Maybe it's the warmth of their hand in yours, the way they look at you like you're the only one in the room. Maybe it's the sound of them saying, I love being with you, or I've never felt like this before. Whatever it is, make it real, make it detailed, make it yours. This scene does not need to be long. In fact, a few seconds repeated with feeling is far more powerful than hours of restless longing. Pick one scene and return to it. Rehearse it like a memory. Play it gently in your mind again and again until it begins to feel familiar, natural, even inevitable. The power lies not just in the image, but in the feeling. It is the feeling that impresses the subconscious. It is the feeling that shapes reality. If you imagine them with love but feel doubt underneath, you send mixed signals. But if you imagine them and feel peace, joy, and certainty, you begin to align with the version of you who is already living it. Do not force the scene. Let it unfold as if you are remembering something beautiful that has already happened. Breathe into it. Smile if you feel the joy rise. Let your heart expand as if the moment is real, because in consciousness it is. And what becomes real in consciousness will find its way into the physical world. This is not about controlling them. This is not about trying to force anyone's will. It is about entering into a higher state of being, a state where you are loved, where you are chosen, where you are safe. From this state, your world changes. They begin to feel what you have already accepted. They begin to mirror the love you already live in. After you've played the scene and felt the feeling, release it. Let it go with trust. You don't need to replay it all day. You don't need to question when or how. You've done your part. Now the unseen takes over. Like a seed planted in the dark soil, it begins to grow without your effort. Your only task is to stay in the knowing, to stay in the vibration of already being loved. And if doubt comes, return to the scene, gently, quietly, without force. Let it comfort you, remind you, center you. This is the secret. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you feel is already true. So create the scene, feel the joy, let it become natural, then let it go. And as you live in that inner fulfillment, life will rise to meet you with the echo of your creation. They will show up. The moment will come, because it already exists within you. Enough. Feel the truth of love without doubt or effort. Let it settle into your being like a quiet knowing, not something you have to repeat over and over to convince yourself, but something you breathe as naturally as air. The truth is this: you are already loved, you are already chosen. Not someday, not if you do everything right, not when they finally notice you, but now, in this very moment, in the unseen, this love already exists. You do not need to beg the universe. You do not need to question whether they feel it. What you accept as true within becomes truth in the world around you. The need to hope vanishes when you step into the state of already having. And that is the key. Stop hoping and start knowing. Stop trying and start being. There is no force in love that is truly yours. There is no strain when it's aligned. The only work is to accept that it is done. This is not delusion, it is creation. When you feel the love is real, when you walk through your day knowing that someone out there already cherishes you, desires you, and is moving closer to you, you shift timelines. You tune your frequency to the version of reality where love is not lacking. And when you live in that energy long enough, the physical must match it. You are not separate from what you desire. You are not outside the circle of love. The moment you imagined being loved, you created it. The moment you saw yourself as worthy, you aligned with the one who sees it too. What keeps it away is not lack of effort, but lack of belief. Doubt builds walls. Fear builds distance. But love, true love, is always near. It is always now. So stop asking if they love you. Begin to feel what it would be like if you already knew. How would you carry yourself? How would you speak, walk, breathe? You would not hesitate. You would not shrink. You would not look outside for signs. You would become the sign. You would smile to yourself, knowing the connection is alive and growing, even if you can't yet see it. Let yourself melt into the feeling of being fully loved. Let it wash over you as if someone just whispered into your ear, "You are the one I've been looking for." Let that sentence echo through your chest and make a home in your soul. Not because it has been said in the outer world, but because you've already heard it within. And that is enough. That is where the magic begins. There is no struggle in true manifestation. There is only surrender to what is already done in consciousness. Stop pushing, stop questioning. You do not need to make love happen. You only need to become aware that it already is. So tonight, drop the doubt, drop the waiting, drop the need to be chosen. You are already chosen. You are already loved. And the more you accept that as your truth, the more the world will rise up to confirm what your heart has already known. Tonight you were reminded of your power, not the power to chase or beg, but the quiet creative power that lives within. You no longer need to force love or prove your worth. Everything you desire already exists in the unseen, waiting for your assumption, your belief, your gentle surrender. By imagining them as already yours, by assuming the feeling of being desired, by becoming magnetic in stillness, you rewrite your reality. You are no longer the seeker, you are the one who is sought. And the more you dwell in that truth, the more the world will reflect it with love, connection, and certainty. Create from the silence. Trust in the unseen. Walk as the one who is already loved. And watch as life unfolds like magic. Say to thanks for clothing. May you rest tonight in knowing it is already done, and wake up in the reality you created, with love.